Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Switching the days around a lot. I think I streamed last Thursday, so I'm trying to do every Thursday. We'll see how that works out right now, but also you probably noticed the layout. I'm just messing around with some more stuff as I'm getting used to streaming. I want to be able to switch back and forth, so just trying it. Just let me know if things sound weird or whatever. You can also see a little more of the camera right now because you're seeing this whole hunk of junk of PVM over here, but we're going to play some Transport Tycoon tonight, and interestingly enough, I do have the big box for it. This is the first big box game I actually ever got. It was Christmas '94. Got from my parents for Christmas or something like that. Unfortunately, the floppies are long gone. I took the floppies out at some point or another, and they might be in here still, but if they are, they're in very poor shape. I kind of doubt they are. Okay, they are in here. However, I don't place a lot of confidence in these because, yeah, as you can see, they're missing the dust covers, so I was not kind to them back in the day. We'll try them, but I also wanted prepared, so I actually copied or got from an abandonware site, which is called myabandonware.com, which is a great site for finding old DOS games that you can't buy anymore. And I actually went ahead and downloaded it ahead of time. So we're actually going to copy that to the 486, which is running DOS and Windows 3.11. So how do you copy things to a Windows 3.11 machine over network? Well, I'll show you. We are going to go into Windows, and this machine actually has the Windows 95 networking stack installed on it, so it can actually talk to and communicate with Samba shares. Samba shares is just your normal folder shares, and that will allow me to actually copy files to this machine. You can still do this from DOS, but I don't have it set up yet, so right now I'm just utilizing the Windows portion of it, because I mention this quite often, I feel, almost to the point it's a broken record, but I like when you're into this kind of stuff and people have already kind of figured out the hard parts. So someone at some point figured out. Then I actually talked to a coworker who was around when this was actually, new. Hey Ted, welcome back. He actually remembers when the Windows 95 TCP/IP stack was available for Windows 3.11, and it made their lives at work a lot easier because they could copy stuff much quicker over network. So what we have here right now is a special program manager called TabWorks that normally was shipped with compacts around this era. I don't have a compact right now, so I installed it on here. Just replaced it to standard program manager. Made it look like a file of facts or whatever. So what we are going to do, we're going to try and install this from floppy, but I have low confidence this floppy still works. So I actually have it on my retro NAS, so I'm going to I have it mapped in to file manager here. There we go. It's interesting because these have long file names in the Samba share, but because I didn't think too much about that being a problem, not only is Windows 3.11 and also, of course, DOS not able to parse it, it just gives garbles. So here, this is a short one. This is the game Roll Cage, the ISO for it, so we know that. So I kind of guessed which one it was here. Of course, I lost it now. This is the guy. So we're just going to copy these files to the C drive instead. So I think we can do this, and then file, copy to make a new folder first on C. I think it will install to different directories. So we're going to create a new directory. It's funny because I mentioned this before too. When you're messing around with old operating systems like this, things are kind of where you want them to be, but not kind of anyway. So it's hard to kind of figure it out. So we'll do tt install. That's too long. Inst. I think it will act like the. And this I mapped, of course, before. That wasn't. It's not auto-discovering Windows 3.11. Windows 3.11 has nothing of this installed by default, so you actually have to install Nick, get the drivers for it. Planning on making a video of that at some point. I promise I have a lot of videos I want to make, but never get around to them. I think it was this one here. So then we're going to mark all these here. How you doing tonight, Ted? Are you still up late as usual? Or early for you, almost. Let's see. File, copy. So then we're going to copy to ctt inst. Hit OK. Now it's copying those files from the directory on the network. So what I did then is from my modern PC, I drug it to my retro NAS, And I'm able to go in here and do this. And it's slow. This is a 10 megabit NIC, I think, in this guy. But it's convenient because you can copy files without running with floppies or burning disks or anything like that. So all we really have to do now is go back into DOS. So we'll try and install from the floppy and see what happens. Because it would be pretty cool if these work. I remember bringing this game to a friend's house and just dropping the floppies on the stairs. And I mean, they've been pretty punished. So the dust covers are gone. Yeah. That's pretty late there, or early, however you slice it. But these floppies then, whoops. I'm not very nice to them, but you can see they're missing the dust covers, which of course is not a great idea. But I was young and so this was my first big box game, so let's try and see if it actually does read them. Found it. So look at that. So let's check if the second disc is also able to be read. In that case, it's funny because, I mean, we've all copied those floppies, right? Many of us have. But it's just a compressed file here on the second floppy, basically. A lot of these commercial product floppies just hold up a lot better than the ones you copy from home. I'm assuming just, you know, better production. Alright, so we're actually going to try that. Again, this is running on the HP Vector 486. We have a 66 megahertz. Yeah, that's amazing. It's still working. I'm just throwing them around. I'm so used to it. So, alright, we're going to install. And we'll see if it actually is able to read the whole thing. Now it's making a lot of nasty noises. Yeah, there we go. Oh no. It was able to directly read it, but then not. But I prepared because I figured this might happen, so... What I'll probably do is I'll rewrite these to new floppies and put it in here. I also saw someone actually, they rewrote with new floppies and they actually peeled open the original ones and taped them back again so they could use the original ones. I think it was a guy from Germany or something. But alright, we'll abort that. It was too good to be true. But that's why we prepared. So tt-inst and install. So My Abandonware is a great website for grabbing... Okay, I guess it just literally... Oh, well, that's fine. It literally put it in the... I lost one train of thought. Anyway, Abandonware is a site for games that are basically not developer supported anymore. They're not making any money on it. They don't really put stuff up that you can still buy. So games that show up on GOG, things like that, you're not going to find there. But you're going to be able to find a lot of other games that maybe lost the time, if you will. No one's made a modern version of it. They're not selling in any storefronts. So it's myabandonware.com is a great site for just finding old software, including the original Transport Tycoon. So I think we have 16 in here. So 225.1, pretty sure. And add libsoundmaster.fm. So there we go. Type Tycoon. And if you haven't played this, and funny, I thought it would be an installation sequence here. Now let's see if we get music, because there's general MIDI in this that I really want to hear. It's really good. Like a jazzy. Don't see any audio though. Could be audio here. I hear audio. Very, very low. Let me know if you can hear the music there, because there should be actual MIDI music playing right now. I cranked it up a little bit. Just the audio out is real low in this game, I think. So if you haven't played this game, it's basically a legendary transport management simulator. You run a transport empire. Actually, let's go through the big box a little bit quicker and see what's in here. It's been so long since I opened this thing. But the actual, we'll do this. Look at that, woo! Trying out some few different things. So Transport Tycoon is made by Chris Sawyer. Chris Sawyer went on to create Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's designed on the exact same game engine as this. This is the first game that had this game engine, so it was definitely very popular later. The idea with this game is that you maintain and manage a... Very good at this. A transport empire. Producing buses and trucks, or lorries, as they're called here. And basically make a profitable transport empire. There is, I will say right away, there is an open source version of this game in the deluxe format called OTTD, or Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe, OTTD. Highly recommend it. Runs on Windows 10, modern machines. It doesn't take much to run, and it's this game amplified to the max. It's like everything from the deluxe edition, which includes more vehicles, more levels, more things to do, etc., etc. I can turn up so I can hear it, but just came. It's funny because I read this so many times. You can see the manual is a little folded and stuff. Because yeah, this is one I read over and over. Like back in the day, you get the box, you open it, you look at the stuff, and you'd be reading the information in here all the time. So this requires a 3 to 625 megahertz. It runs slow on that. This is definitely a 46 or a higher game, I would say. So. The later versions are compatible with Windows 95, but this is the DOS version. Deluxe for certain had better, could support newer OSs, so. And this is also funny to me. Here's the manual showing these are things that were not in the manual at the time of print, so we added them to this little leaflet. That was an extremely common thing to see on these games, because I mean, you couldn't put like patch notes or update or, you know, push out updates. It was almost on, and then you had to print something extra, basically. So, but it shows you a little bit of how control the game and everything. But, of course, it comes with a nice, glorious, thick manual. But no color in this one, sadly. But I read through this one a lot, because this game, when you first start playing it, if you've never played it, jump into it. It's complex. Once you get going with it, it opens up, and it's a little easier, of course. But I remember when I played this originally, the first time I played it, I had no clue what you need to do. Like, what is this? And I'll show you as we get into the game here on how to play this. It made no sense to me. But let's get cracking. Okay, move the boxes out of the way. Just lots of stuff. So, we are going to check game options. We have town names on. Let me switch back to the other camera so you can actually see the game. There we go. Town names on. You set just settings in the game, of course. You can change these at any time. So we'll do US dollars and miles because we're in... Oh, yeah. Do American town names. Yeah, we'll do English. I don't know. It's almost set in England and it's very charming little English town names. They'll do pound just to be just a little different here. Let's see. Difficulty is custom. We'll do easy. And you can customize this back and forth, so. Yeah, this is transport networks in city building games often get really complex. I think I mentioned last time too. Like you play like City Skyline now, and you can make amazing cities. I am horrible, as we saw in Settlers 2, I am horrible at making road networks efficient from the beginning, and always like at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm going to have to demolish everything and rebuild it. So with this focusing exclusively on the transport management situation, you cannot impact the cities directly. You can run ad campaigns in the cities, but you do not determine how the cities grow here. So with being able to focus on the transport part of it, it's a lot easier actually. So it's even run a little sluggish on this guy here. I ran this on a 33 megahertz, and it certainly was choppy at times. NEP Pentium or higher runs great on, so we'll just do the normal easy here. So now we're going to do a new game, and it spins right up. Deluxe added a lot more options. So first we're going to pause the game. It's not very smooth moving, but it's part of the charm, right? It shouldn't be flawless. You can listen to some fantastic jazzy MIDI synth here. Alright, I am that. We are going to pick a different color scheme. We are going with we'll have to go with purple. That's synth wave, future wave, retro wave, whatever you want. So they added it in Transport Tycoon Deluxe later that you could customize this better, but we're just going to keep clicking until we get a face we like, or some really dorky one. Oh yeah, he's got a smirk. That looks just like me, doesn't it? There, I want a sad mustache. Perfect. I'm a sad business owner. I inherited the company from my parents. I didn't want to do this. They forced me into it. But here I am. Anyway. Company name. I go with one that I always did, even when I was playing as a kid. I don't know why. Just always stuck with me for some reason. Just a generic global transport. I just use that for all these kind of games. So, actually, I have to adjust my monitor a little bit. It's actually off the screen. I can't see so well. Not sure if you can hear it, but the monitor I'm using, a ViewSonic CRT, it's the buttons probably need a little grease or something, because they just kind of squeak when I push them. That's a little odd, but who knows what life this monitor had before I got it, so. Oops. And like everything like this, you gotta figure out the on-screen buttons, or not on-screen, but the buttons, what they do. A little tricky. Listen to the jazz while you wait. I'm gonna get this perfect, but I can't even see part of the screen right now, so. Alright, there we go. Okay, let's... That's true. Each doesn't stop to keep losing that hair, so... I'm going to... this a little bit too. See? Like, all these games just kind of shift around a little bit, especially in DOS, where the screen lands, so then you know, my virtual overscanner is not working. So, the primary purpose of this game is to build a transport empire, or a transport network. You have at your disposal trains, you have boats, you have airplanes, you have trucks and buses. And they can all transport different things. Okay, we get such a delightful British town names like Flunnington, Heffingford, Pludham, Bunninghead. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just so charming. So, you have a few options. You can basically build cheap vehicles, so meaning you're building a lot of trucks, but they can't carry a lot of stuff. So, a thing that I usually do is I start with rail, because rail can carry a lot, so you can end up carrying a lot of things. So, one of the best places to make money early is oil refineries. So there's a couple of things. You can actually go, and I'm paused in the game now, so time doesn't progress. Otherwise, time would start, and you would get competitors coming in as well. So what I'd like to do now is look at the map. And so when I went into this as a kid, so this came out in '94 then, so I'm like, you know, Hardingham, yes. That's probably one of those. I just didn't understand this game at all. And it takes a few times to play it to really get good at it, and I'm not really good at it, but I remember playing, and I had one game going that just kept going and going. I didn't think I even had competitors. I just liked letting my computer sit in my room with the simulation on. Of course there's a Fartingham. Why wouldn't there be? Nothing wrong with that? Sounds like a Simon Pegg movie or something. So there we go. There's a refinery and an oil field. So you can actually see this here on the map as well. You can see, okay, that's a oil well going to a oil refinery. So we have a couple options here. We can do this really cheaply. It's a very short distance, so I don't feel we need a train for this. Trains can carry much more further distance, but they're also much more expensive to make and build the train tracks and everything. So I think we'll just start with a basic. So we're going to start the game here. And that's rail construction, so we want road construction. So first, we're going to build a depot, or a lorry station, as it were. You can actually see what the area covers by doing this. There we go. So we have built Chetborough North, and now we need a place for these guys to drop off their cargo. So we're going to build here. That's a little unfortunate. It's kind of like the elevation there, but we'll do this. So we can see here now that the area is covered and it says accepts oil. So we know they're going to accept oil. So now we can build some road. So we're going to start building a road. The problem is here I can't go on a diagonal. So we're going to do my... Oh, that was a poor choice. That's right, we'll bulldoze that. I think we'll do this. Yeah. This costs money as well, so you gotta be conscientious of how you're building, because if you just keep smacking stuff down, and you can drag and drop here as well. Train tracks can go diagonal. Road work cannot, so... We just need to connect this here. I can't tell you how long this took as a kid for me to figure out. So now we have roads, right? Great. Well, we have nothing on the road, so we need to build a depot, which is where the stuff comes from. Now that we have a depot, we need to produce vehicles, and we need oil tankers, so we're going to build 3 oil tankers. Larfingburg Springs Factory. Increases production. Just general MIDI is great. So now we need to go to this. We need to go to here. Then we press, and there goes the little truck. Beep beep. And there is a way to duplicate orders. I don't remember how to do it now, so we're just doing manually for now. So I'll let that guy go here. Like the there we go. I think it might be that the music audio is real low, so I'll turn that up because I think the I have a feeling you guys were hearing the sound effects there pretty loudly. So there we go. We'll go into the music player. There. They have a little nice little music player here. So now they're going to carry oil. We can see they're carrying 21 tons of oil. And this guy's going to produce, and they're producing a lot already, so we may have to put a lot of lorries in here. So there we go, so now I made money. Oil is really profitable, as it is in real life, I guess, per unit. So one of these can carry 20 tons, and we're already cramping out. Yeah, we're already pumping out oil, so let's build 2 more trucks here. It's best to start with industries in the beginning. It just gives you the most amount of money quickest. And trains really produce a lot of cash flow. And yes, if you have too many lorries going to your station, they'll get jammed up in traffic. They'll break down, they have to have maintenance and stuff like that too. So now, that's self-sustaining. Now we're making money. Costs us a lot of money. So, what we can do as well is look if there's any subsidies. None yet. Subsidies, it just, you get extra money for a route for a short amount of time. So now, let's see if we can find some other place where we can build some railroad and make some real good cash. Lumber is good. There's a sawmill around here, because that's a lot of lumber. Nope, there's a lot of coal. That's good. So that's a pretty far distance. You would have to basically build rail all the way through here, and that would be expensive. However, if we build a big station here, we can also accept wood later on. Not accept wood, but actually take it to a lumber mill, which is there. Wait, there's a lot of things to keep track in here. I'll build too complex for now. I kind of was hoping for something simpler to build a train track. We have farm, we have coal. There we go, that's a good spot. We will build, my goodness. Industries are really plentiful here, more than I remember. So, let's build a train track here. So now, since there's a farm here, I want to take advantage of that by building a larger train station. Train tracks can have multiple, or train station can have multiple tracks on, determines how many tracks you can connect to it. So you can have them come from different directions. And the platform length decides how long time it takes to unload and load things. Which is very handy for the sake of doing it quicker. So we're going to do a 4 platform here that we can see covers everything. My plan then is to have the bottom side of the rail come out one way, and then I can have the other one come out the other way. So we'll build that. Buttinghead Mines. So now we're just going to build a single one here. We have 2 coal plants here. See if this is going to land on that one too. I kind of don't want it to, because then it's going to produce wood too, unless there's the closest sawmill here is pretty far away, it looks like. Well, sawmill is right there. I'm just very, very dumb. My goodness. One right there. So yeah, we should probably build a double one here that can handle both. Means I'm going to flatten this area here, I think. So that way it would accept coal, and it also produces wood. Yeah, there's nothing when you build. There's like, I guess the citizens in this world, they don't do anything. Even better is when you start taking passengers. They don't go anywhere in particular. They have no destination. They just, like, passengers or cargo. So there's like 100 passengers waiting. They go on to whatever transport arrives. They don't really care where they're going. So we'll do this then, because that means we will cover the coal plants. And that. Then I can build a train track here. So now we're make this really complicated. And you can do this with single. So what happens here is sometimes manufacturers will offer you prototypes for new vehicles. And they'll be interested in testing it. The reliability of these vehicles are usually much lower, so they break down a lot. So I don't really feel like testing it now. They come as a general availability later, but if there's something brand new, like when you get hovercraft or something, and it goes that far, then that's pretty amazing. So now we need to connect this track to here. So it's going to get a little tricky here. And you can do all this with signals, but I'm just not good at it. So I'm not even going to try right now. You can have multiple trains per track, is what I'm saying, and have signals so they stop and take their turn, and it's just... So yes, transport management in this game can get super complicated, and if you look online, people have made these just insane designs that I would never think of, but... Which I think is why OpenTTD, as they call it, is still so popular, because it is fairly accurate simulation at this point of, like, you know, transport management, and nothing else really come really close to it yet, so... Alright, so now we can build a train depot. Put that right there. So we're going to build a train. Starting a little fast now, like stressing out to get all that stuff going here. So we can spend a little more to get a better train, which is usually better, because the small ones can't carry very much. So this is our coal train. Coal train. So we're going to put one of these, and then we're going to do a few coal trucks. We'll do 4, why not? So then we're going to tell this little train some sort of news there I didn't get. And then we're going to have it go there. And it loops the order. So you can do multiple stops and everything. So, Buddinghead Mines. That train is going to go to our coal mine. Pick up some coal. It will go to the next destination. You can also do this to see where they are. Once you get more vehicles, you can look and see what the different vehicles are. How much money they're making. So you see this... Alright. We made £1,000, over £1,000 last year, or now so far. And last year, nothing, because they weren't around last year. But you can see, if they start breaking down a lot, you don't get any money out of them anymore. So now we're going to connect this very short track here. And we'll run them in parallel, because it looks cool. And yes, you certainly can have train collisions if you put them on the same track and they'll do the signals right. Absolutely. So we're going to do one here. We'll go with a smaller engine here. I don't think we need this powerful there. And then we will do wood truck. Such a short distance. And you will go here. And you have a set interval that they go on for maintenance, things like that. They can break down. Every train has a reliability rating that determines how often it has to be repaired. Now this train is hauling, oh my goodness, yeah, we're cramming out coal here. Industries will lower production, they'll drop down, or they'll increase production. But now we have livestock and grain being produced here. So we should find a factory, which is where that goes. They simplify it, because that will give us even more cash. I don't see a factory anywhere close by here. That's unfortunate, because that, excuse me, that farm is really producing a lot. Wow. Industries, let's see. So a new company started, and they're going to start building, and you can have things where, now the AI is on the easy difficulty, you can actually try and like build over them or faster. Yeah, they don't have high excitement rating. It's funny because I know everyone raves about Roller Coaster Tycoon, but I have not played them much at all. So maybe I'll try and stream it sometime. I have a box for it, but I have not played that much at all. So factory is dark purple. There's one down there. That is way too far. But the closest factory? I mean, that would be an epic journey, but it would cost so much to make that train track, especially with the water here. I'm not sure that would be feasible. Especially in the beginning, I would just burn so much cash going all the way over there. So we're making a little bit of money now. The best part is that there's subsidies coming in. There. So, Raddinghead to Launceston. There's a time limit on this. But where is Launceston? Okay. That's pretty far. Alright, I have a cat going through the garbage. Live, unfiltered, annoying cats. So Raddingham to Launceston, we could build an airport. That would certainly make money with the subsidy, but airports are expensive. So let's see what an airport costs. I think there's a way you can... So what's the catchment area here now? We'll build an airport, why not? We'll be adventurous. We may have to take a loan. Oh, £5,000 for an airport, not horrible. So now we need to build an airport here somewhere. We want to make sure we have a good coverage area so we get the most houses here. I remember there's a little jazz track, and you can demolish houses. You're basically paying them off then to just destroy the house, so that is an option to put it in the best place possible, which I think we should probably do here. Go. Alright. And this really helps offset the early cost of, like, implementing this. And we only have one airplane, and that's going to cost us all our money. That's fine. And yes, the aircraft can crash, which really drops your favorability rating in that particular town for some reason. And you can run massive ad campaigns to try and get them back. I remember when I played as a kid, I had one area that just, I don't know what it was, but the planes just kept crashing. And I kept just having to dump money into the ad campaign. So this is the only way you can affect a town, is you can see the favorability rating is very good, and I can do an advertising campaign to increase it. And that just increases the production of passengers, thus increase the size of the town. The more business you do with the town, the larger it gets, so you're already making money back now. It's important to get several like high earning trains early on, because that just gives you a lot of money. Airplanes don't carry that much, so that's the problem, is that long distance, there is extra money, I think, on the distance you travel with the cargo. Boy, that was a horrible approach. You couldn't just have flown direct. You had to fly, like, over, come back, and... Nice. So then we'll get a subsidy, meaning we'll earn... I can't remember what the percentage is, but you get extra money per unit delivered at that point, so, for a while. Ching! 653 pounds. Boy, I'm getting like swept up in this game. I used to play this for hours. And it's just so addictive to keep building, and in the end you have a massive transport network, and it can get a little fiddly towards when you get larger and you have a lot of vehicles to replace, things like that, and it can get messy. So this is already subsidized then. So, Blocks and Company. Oh, that's right, I need to place my HQ. So here is that they're building, and the AI isn't always, like on easy, they don't build efficient at all. But that's fine. They built close to us, those jerks. So where should we put our headquarters? Should we find a quaint little town and put it in there? Bunninghead is pretty cool, I gotta say. It's a tiny town, but... Lunnington, Paddinghall, Ranningworth, Laughingburg Springs. That looks like a bustling town. Oh, this looks like a pretty cool place for headquarters. Larfingburg Springs. Yes, that is our place. The first thing we're going to do is take over the local establishment and blow up everything. There we go, so we can place our headquarters. Little HQ. ammo. And it's just a little dirt thing, but that will grow as our company grows, obviously. So we should probably build something in Laufenburg Springs then. How about just some bus service between Laufenburg Springs and Badhead? Well, I regret my choice immediately. So let's see. We are going to build a bus station. Ooh, iron ore increased production. That's good. I should probably build this one next time. It was right here. We're going to put the bus terminal here. Then one right here to cover the most area. Then we will build the road. You can build tunnels, stuff like that. All that adds to cost. Sometimes it's more efficient to level a hill. Sometimes it's better for a tunnel. The tunnels are really expensive. You can build different bridges. The quality of bridge, meaning the cost of the bridge, determines how fast they can go. Now we need to just build a depot. I like putting that somewhere in the middle so that they don't have to travel so far. So we will build, let's see. Let's start with two buses. We will also build postal vans, I think, so. There we go, you go there. And then there. Okay, great. Was this the guy I did? Yeah, orders. Go. It's pretty intuitive interface. I mean, this is pre-Windows 95, right? So it's got that feel to it. I mean, this is like DOS. And it controls very intuitively. Not going to complain at all of that. Now, what I should have done is given us space here so I can build a place for... So we're just going to... Sorry, mate. Your house is gone. Because we want to accept mail as well. And... You're gone. There. Now we can transport mail between these two cities as well. So we will build two postal... Let's see, where's the mail truck? There it is. Can't get not enough cash. We gotta earn a little more money. The money's coming back pretty quick because of the train. So every time the train delivers, you get like a huge chunk of cash basically because it's carrying so much. This is on actual hardware. This is on a 486 HP Vectra, 66 megahertz. It is a desktop case. It's under the desk, so it's kind of hard to get a camera on it right now, but may have rearranged so you can see it. But yeah, this is running on actual hardware. So I like streaming on old hardware pretty much exclusively. Just because I have a lot of old computers and it's fun for me to do that. So emulation's gotten really good, but I like the genuine experience. So I'm playing it on the 46. I'm using a old ball mouse. I'm using a old PS2 keyboard. Actually, it's a I can't remember what it's called, the bigger circular connector for the older ones, converted to PS2, and then I have a KVM setup and everything going to a CRT monitor. So let's see if we have enough to buy another. And I was of course capturing it, and capturing with DOS is a little tricky. And I use a VGA to HDMI converter that actually handles the odd DOS resolutions. So there we go, make some money. The idea with combining these two is that it's one spot. As you see, they turn into the same station now. So now they have passengers and bags of mail waiting. So how many retro PCs I have? Oh my goodness. AT keyboard. Yep, thank you. That's what I was thinking. I have right now with the streaming setup, I have 3 machines plugged in at any given time. There's this Amiga 500 sitting here. That's also working. Then as far as like PCs themselves, I have probably between up to 10 more after that in varying states of functionality. And I'm trying to like kind of narrow down the ones I use because I don't need multiple machines for the same purpose. I have a retro network set up here as well. Some friends sometimes, not lately due to current circumstances, play retro games together over network as well. But I have quite a few like kind of like fully good to go Windows XP retro machines, mostly because those can be used very well for playing any Windows related retro game. Like, no, I won't play DOS games obviously, but if you want to play networked for any you know, semi-modern retro game, XP is really good for that. And Windows 98 is kind of the gold standard to me when it comes to retro PC, but XP is really flexible, and it's supported by more games than you think, so... And there's patches sometimes for XP as well. I use that extensively on a lot of retro machines, and you get really good performance, because building an XP retro machine is dirt cheap, so... Like, slap a Pentium 4 or something in it, and bam, you get a really good machine. Anyway, so yes, I have a lot of computers, trying to trim them down. Oh my goodness, that is a lot of machines. You are eclipsing me, no problem at all. So, do you use them, collect them? I find it's kind of like a big spread of people that decide that they collect a lot of machines, and some people only get what they use, and something in between too. So, any highlights you can think of as far as like machines you really love or enjoy? I have a Tandy 1000 like SL over here behind me that I'm hoping to stream someday too with, which I really like because of the aesthetics of it. But it's not quite as easy to use these days. Oh my goodness, that guy built a lot of lorries there. New transport company. Uh-oh. We have passengers. We need more buses. More buses. Yeah, I got other people saying I have a museum down here too. What you see behind me is, of course, there's laptops I wasn't thinking about too, but, oh, nice, 4,000 tower, that's really, that's not easy to come by these days, so... I assume you took a 4,000 and built it into a tower, or is it an original tower? I'm a little hazy on the, later Amiga, so I'm not gonna pretend to be the expert on that by far. What I have, and... if one person's watching here, he knows for sure I'm very excited about this, is I got a piece of equipment recently, or actually arrived today, that I am really excited to set up, and I will definitely... Goodness. I'll definitely stream that at some point too. Is the Mr. FPGA hardware emulation solution. Long story short, it hardware emulates a lot of old computers, including the venerable Amiga. So it's getting harder and harder to keep these things alive, obviously, and it will run its close approximation to the actual hardware quite well compared to just software emulation. So I'll cover it later, but I'm excited about the solution because there's so many things you can do with it, and it's open source development, they keep adding things to it. So this is the first basic board that you can do stuff with, and then you can run, you know, Amiga, Vectrex, all the classic consoles, 16-bit era, Super Nintendo, Genesis, NES, in close as possible to simulating the actual hardware. So I'm excited to test that out. So, yep, exactly. That is a lot of machines. Yeah. Holy cow. Oh, really? That's right. I think I remember seeing the A4000T. Not that I know people do build towers out of it, but that it was actually made at one point. So. Because it's interesting, I am from Europe, but I live in America now, so the Amiga frontier is much, much smaller than Europe, obviously. It was very UK-centered, the way I felt it, anyway, so we can build something more. But anyway, the Mister is really exciting, because it may, at least from a daily driver perspective, replace this stuff, because they're developing it constantly, they're adding stuff to it all the time. Now we're getting some competition here. And you can be really mean and, like, put train tracks over where their cars are, and they might get exploded, and, like, yeah. You can be really mean in this game against them. So, let's see what else we can build. Probably need to invest in an industry here now. So there's an iron. Is there any... That's oil. Iron and coal. There's a smelter. They need iron, but it's too far away. That's too bad. There's coal. That'll probably be a good investment for a train. It's going to be expensive. We have to get some more cash, but... let's see. Yeah, we'll do coal transport here. We will build it outside the town limits because I don't want it to... I guess I can have passengers, that's fine. We don't have a lot of liquid cash right now, so you can borrow money as well, so... I think we will put a double here because it looks like we can do this eventually. So we'd be kind of foolish not to right now. So, definitely gonna run low on cash here now, but it is what it is. Gotta spend money to make money, right? Sorry, I keep staring because I gotta read your comments here now, too. Oh, that's neat. I'm sorry to hear your friend passing away there, but I always enjoy when things go to places that they're going to be enjoyed. That feels to me, I'm starting to kind of cull a little bit of my machines, and I have a friend at work who's young and is really starting getting into this stuff, and he's so appreciative of getting some of the machines I'm getting rid of, because that, you know, he wants to experience that, and especially if I just am not using it, so. And like many other things, it's, you know, difference is a combination of space constraint, time constraint, I think is the biggest thing for me when it comes to retro machines. Whoops, I built that one too far. It's having the time to use them all, if you will, which is where the Mister gets really exciting for me, because you can switch around between different machines. And they even have a 46 core now, and core is the emulator that runs on the Mister. That is capable of emulating a 4633 megahertz at this point, with Sound Blaster 16 support and SVGA graphics. So it could run this game. I might stream this sometime on the Mister. It can run slower, because they're kind of brute forcing the architecture. The idea with the Mister is that it uses a FPGA chip, which is a field programmable gate array, a whole bunch of electronic switches on it, or virtual switches, if you will, that can mimic a chip. And that allows it to use HDL, or hardware description language, which is basically a blueprint of how a circuit works, in this case, and I'm sure I'm butchering this now, compared to the experts. But it allows you then to more or less emulate the hardware itself. So you won't have as much problem with compatibility, because it actually runs as the real machine, and the software sees it as running as a real machine. So if you install the game on the 46 core on there, it's going to think it's running on an actual DOS PC, for better or worse, you know. And it's not as powerful yet, because there's a limit to how many switches you can have on it that fits in, I think it's like 10,000 or something like that. And they're hitting that limit with that. They just can't... there we go. They can't produce them or get them in there, so... Ooh, new bus available. Sweet. So we need coal trucks here. There we go. We do want to pay off our loan as well, because if we don't, then we have to keep paying the rent, or the... I guess, the interest on it. This is a Cyclone, so there is a huge following on the Mister itself. But yeah, it uses a Altera Cyclone chip with an ARM processor on the board as well. That actually handles the Linux part of it, that lets you do all the control of it, so it has an on-screen display and everything. It's just really, really cool thing, so I really look forward to messing with it. Above all, it's been around for a while now, and it's meant to be a development board for training engineers. It's a subsidized program from Intel for engineers to learn about how to program these chips and circuits, and in the much bigger versions, actual chip manufacturer and, like, say a company making phones like Samsung might use a very complex version of something like that to design their circuits. That costs thousands of dollars, obviously. This is very cheap, just over $100. But it's also subsidized by Intel to get people to get interested in that kind of technology. So I'm really looking forward to messing with it. There's so much support for it with being open source, and so many people are developing for it, making awesome things. So. You did a giveaway on your machine. Yeah, that's nice. I have to give you a follow there. Do you stream a lot on your... what kind of stuff do you stream? Just old machines as well, or old games? Or yeah, the Mister just kind of built up in my consciousness since I built recently a RetroPie, like many of us do, to run on CRTs. So I have a PVM sitting right here. And I used a component converter, and it worked really well after a lot of fiddling. And then I became aware of the Mister and realizing it is really, really good. And it's kind of built by the community for the community. Again, open source, so people are putting in features like, huh, this would make sense to put in. Okay, let's put it in. and they keep adding stuff. Like the reason they were able to do the 46, they just figured out a cache emulation thing. So I think they probably won't be able to get up to Pentium. They think the physical limit of the chip on there is probably going to max out at like a 4690, maybe. Just from the fact that there's not enough logic arrays available on it to switch around. And they've gotten so far. Of course, I'm getting way off topic here now versus this game, but... the other side, sure. Yeah, I tried the other side a little bit too. I just end up being here all the time for some reason. But, they are running out of space on the chip on what they can do. And it's just not enough room to do anymore, basically, so... Oh, nice. Might have that one somewhere. It's just funny, because I moved all my big box games recently, and then I haven't had a chance to organize them again, so I can't find anything anymore. Ooh, there's lumber. In Nudingville, or Nuttingville. Little subsidy. Tuffingford to Barthor. Oh, someone already built here. Oh my goodness. Aeon EC is not... yeah, something like that. K5. Well, I think what they said with the 46 core that's on there now, they are kind of brute forcing in certain things. They'll never be able to duplicate the architecture of 46 in the chip. That's just not happening. So they're using kind of shortcuts to do that. Now it runs the 46 thing apparently very well. So all your more classic DOS games, like say, you know, Leisure Suit Larry and CR games, and all that stuff runs apparently really well on it. But once you get into more advanced stuff, it gets harder. So yeah, thanks for watching my other videos. I'm trying to get back into producing videos because it keeps going longer and longer in between them, but life gets in the way. So I figured I'll start streaming too, because I enjoy, as you probably noticed, talking a lot about old games, so it's fun. But I am gonna make some more videos. I started writing down some ideas on what I'd make videos on, so that is a lot of industries here. Boy, we have a ore mine, factory, and a coal mine. And a farm. So the farm could take stuff to the factory. However, I think you need to bring stuff to the farm too. There's a farm up there, huh? Could do a boat. Carry livestock by boat? Why not? Build a dock. Will that accept livestock and grain and steel? Yep. Let's see if we can actually do this with a boat. I don't know. We'll find out. Goods carrying ship. No, you cannot. Oh well. That was a nice dock anyway. Bye, dock. I couldn't remember. Oh my goodness, that cost me 7,000 pounds to delete an empty square. Okay, never mind. That was expensive. Yeah, I think so. Whoops. That's not mine. So this has happened sometimes, and then they're gonna stop here now. I think because there's a road. No, never mind. They don't care about the signal. Just go there. So I'm guessing so. I am not a hardware developer at all. I just blurted out stuff I've read about it and watched videos. So as far as like because the architecture, I think so. It's just, it's not meant to be what it's doing, if that makes sense, the Mister. It was always designed as see, there's like Intel University program label on it here, and they have like educational discounts, and it's really made for engineering students, I'm guessing, to learn how to program these kind of devices. And they have a whole series of them. This particular one just happened to work really well with the with that kind of thing. And it spawned from the program called Mist, which was the original one, which runs on an older Cyclone chip, excuse me, that was used almost exclusive for Amiga, I think. And then when this came around, people realized, like, hey, we can really, you know, make this work well. Boy, there's a sawmill around here. That'd be great. There's one down there. That's really far. However, this is much closer. Let's build a truck route here. And I think that, goodness, on the subsidy? No. Subsidy expired, probably. I think there was an update for this game, because some of the things don't trigger, and I remember them fixing that later, so... So the Mister program kind of grew up from that, so... Maybe it was. I could have sworn I saw people doing... I think I saw Phil's Computer Lab do an Amiga emulation for the Mist, so you might be right that it was started as the Atari ST. I do know that Amiga ran on it for sure. And then, of course, now the Mister supports it very well. I think, from what they say, the Amiga core for the Mister is one of the most baked ones. And you can run basically every Amiga ever made faster than any Amiga ever made in basically near hardware accuracy really well. Because they spent, what I understand is they spend some time on some of these cores and just, like, go bonkers in developing and fixing bugs and improving it. And it gets to become really, really good. So... in this case here, that is the case. So we will do this. Oh, they now accept goods. Well, thank you. You can transport goods from a factory to a town. That's a little risky sometimes, because sometimes towns just like, nope, we don't accept any goods anymore, and then you're out of it, that. So we're gonna build a bridge. Nice. But yeah, anyway, for my purposes, where I like kind of streaming a little bit of everything, and I'd like to play a little bit of everything, having a Mister seems like a no-brainer, because you can use the... I have a hat for it coming that allows you to connect it to a CRT as well. It uses the GPIO pins to produce a VGA signal, or a 15 or 30 kilohertz signal as needed, and natively, and that gives you basically flawless RGB video, like you were getting clean digital to RGB video on an actual chip. So I'm excited about that, because I want to play some of the consoles and the Amiga. I never had an Atari ST, so I'd love to explore that too. See, they stopped accepting goods already. Douches. To explore all that stuff on a CRT monitor as well. Because there's emulation, but this is... I will say this is still emulation, but it's emulation on a different layer, I feel. And people rave about the no lag and things like that, so... Yeah, doesn't Amiga and Atari ST use the same processor underneath, or am I that old now? Thinking wrong. ET30. I don't know that I know what that is, or... Yeah, I'm on the peripheral or a lot of the retro stuff, it seems like. And so many things I don't know or haven't explored yet. 4. Go. Go. You just get lost in this game because you keep building more and more. I think we start paying back our loan now so we can drop that interest. But you gotta invest a lot to get money. Mega ST4, huh? It also depends kind of where you live too, right, and what you end up having access to. A lot of machines and stuff I've found or gotten have been, I mean, almost always local. Okay. Interesting. That was a faster machine then? Which I assume causing compatibility problems sometimes too. Seems like that's not always the case, or will work really well. There we go. Repay. Oh, I see. More powerful machines for workstation stuff then. Anyway, so I will probably never find an Atari ST here. I think I've seen, you know, sometimes pop up or really far away locally. But I'm not willing at this point to fork it over because I have no nostalgic attachment to it either. The Amiga, I had a neighbor who had an Amiga 500, so that was one of the early ones I got to be able to play with that again. And this one does work. So being able to explore the Atari ST library with the Mister, because apparently the emulation of the ST is really good on the Mister as well. So I'm excited to explore all this stuff, see the differences and everything, and I'm just psyched for that to plug it in and try it out. So I'll make a video on it. I'll probably stream with it a lot since I can do the dual output of VGA and HDMI at the same time, which is really useful for people like me to stream. So repay. So how are our vehicles doing now? Look at that, we're making loads of cash. All our vehicles are making money. Yep. You don't want to see any red there. Look at that, we made 10,000 pounds. But the coal train here is making the most. We need to find more industry. Sure. Yeah, I grew up with Amigas. Well, I didn't grow up with it. It's like my neighbor had them. Still one of my oldest best friends. We played a lot when we were kids. He went out with his dad one time to bike to the post office to pick up a package. And then he came back, and he had a big box in the back of his bike with his dad. And that had his Amiga 500 in it. I did not see him for probably 5 solid days. He was just gone. Never came out of the house. He just used that Amiga every day. And then he finally like invited me to like check it out. He wanted to show me all the cool games he'd played on it. And the first game he showed me was Battle Isle. And he's like, oh, we'll play against each other. And Battle Isle is a turn-based strategy game, right? That's kind of I mean, Advanced Wars, all those kind of games kind of got their inspiration almost from Battle Isle. And he's like, oh, it's really complicated. You're not going to be... I beat him on the first round. Not the first round in the game, but I beat him the first time I played it. And he's like, oh, well, we're not playing this again. But I bring it up once in a while to him still, and I think he forgot it, so... Yeah, I didn't have much exposure to computers. My dad had a 286 for like bookkeeping purposes, but boy, I wish I still had that machine. But I used that for a while. But most of that, I grew up with Nintendo. Like most of my kids around where I grew up in Europe there, it was definitely Nintendo. They were dominating everything, and a lot of people did have Amigas, Commodore 128s, things like that. Kind of like a little older than me, so I didn't know many kids my age that had personal computers. Not until later, when the 486s started rolling around, and then people, you know, the beige box invasion, right, in the mid-90s. Then people started getting a family computer and stuff like that, so. For other people joining us late, now we're on a tirade on retro computers, but we are playing Transport Tycoon, which is a transport management sim from the mid-90s, early mid-90s. By Chris Sawyer. If you are familiar with how this looks, it is the same engine that underpins Roller Coaster Tycoon and all its derivatives. So, we're building a little transport empire using trucks, buses, trains, boats, and airplanes. And this is running on a original 486 HP Vectra, 66 megahertz right now. So, let's see what else we can find. Need more industries, like I said. That's where the money is. Oil would be nice, because that does make a lot of money. Coal does too. Refinery. Some iron ore production, I think, would be nice to add to our portfolio. That's an... He's doing that there. Boy, that is a spaghetti network. But they did it. The AI, like I mentioned earlier, on the lowest difficulty is not that great, so... Yeah, it's interesting. The Master System, I mean, at least where I grew up. So I grew up in Scandinavia, but... Oh my goodness, that's a lot of airplanes. Half of them are burning, and the problem is that they need maintenance, and if they don't land with a certain time for maintenance, they will crash. So, good luck with that. I only knew one person on my peripheral, like a family friend that didn't really have kids my age. They had a Master System, so that's the only exposure I had to it ever. I don't want your prototype. I'd never really seen it at all, so... but NES, everyone I knew had an NES around me. Now, it helped for me, my parents ran a business that had rental, and we had NES rental, so that sealed the deal for me. I could basically have, not unlimited, but very high level of access to any kind of games I wanted, basically, so... Not to the point where, like, hey, we need this game for rental, we're going to make money off it, right? I can't just grab it whenever. But often, if we had 3 or 4 copies of a game in on a Friday night or something, then I could often take one home for free, you know, not without paying, and I could play the game, so... So that was a little spoiled there, and being able to burn through a lot of games, but... Like, my brother, he got his license first, he was older than I am, and he would just head to the place for rental, and he would just... I told him, like, hey, grab a stack of games. He, okay, and he'd bring home, like, 6 or 7 NES games for the weekend, right? And it didn't cost us anything, so... We didn't get all the games, though, and my parents then, of course, said, like, we're not going to buy any games because you have so many games accessible here. And speaking of that, I'm going to show real quick, relating to that. I plan to make a video on it, but since we're already talking about it, they came in these rental cassettes. So this is RoboWarrior for NES, translated. But the game then came in this cassette, like normal NES cartridge, right? But it comes in this rental case. So I have quite a few of them like that, because by the time this was old, no one... I mean, it was before retro just hit, you know, went through the roof. It was sitting on the shelf like this, and you picked this up, and it was mixed in with the VHS, basically. Terminator 2, one of the later ones, Double Dragon 2. So, I mean, it's exactly the same game, it just came in this VHS-like case that has the special nubs for the game to sit in here, so... But I plan on making a video on that, and they actually have the instruction manual often taped inside, because the manual disappeared almost all the time, because people wouldn't return it, or, you know, they get jam or butter on it or something, who knows. But people are messy. So that's kind of a neat thing that I still have, and of course you have to have a PAL NES for that to work, so... I'll repay some more money here. Let's pay off the whole loan. There. We're debt-free. Woo! Now the money we're making is the money we have. So how's this place going? There's plenty of oil there. But yeah, it was NES for sure. Everywhere, basically. At least around me, so... I had one friend who his dad was a skipper on a big cargo ship, like one of those massive ones. So he was out to sea like months at a time. So every time he came home, he would pretty much always bring something back for him, because he was gone so much. I'm sure he made really good money doing it, but he was gone a lot, so made me feel guilty. I don't know, but that kid had like every Transformer. Like you'd go to the back of the magazine, of the Transformer magazine, and look there, like the ones, and he had like all of them except one. He had every NES game. He just had like all the launch titles, every accessory, everything, and yeah. It was always fun to play at his place for Transformer. Like he had the Scorponok and the what's the gray base one, Fortress Maximus or something like that. He had that, and he had so many of them. Raddingham to Bartborough. Where is that? Right there. Why don't we muscle in on this guy's turf here and build a little bus station? This airport with his circling airplanes. A bad feeling these planes are gonna come crashing down at some point. Sorry, house, we're gonna blow you up there. There we go. So we can probably build a bridge here. What will this cost us? Oh, not bad. Nice. Build a cool bridge. Yeah, I love that, honestly. Getting some history with games when you buy them and you see, yeah, you know, information about the game or codes or tips or, you know, it's, I don't know. It's cool to see a little bit of history with the product too, and know that it was used. Even this 46 is struggling, or 46, this 66 is having a little bit hard time sometimes when there's a lot of stuff on the screen, so it gets pretty bad later when you have a lot of stuff. So now we have a new bus that has has better reliability. It costs a little more, but that's okay. Throw 3 of those out here. And where did I put... There it is. I just wondered the way to duplicate the orders, but yeah, as I mentioned earlier, like a shift build or something like that, you can do it quickly, but that means I would have to read the manual. That sounds like a lot of work, right? Even though I read it end to end when I was a kid, I'm sure. That is a lot of burning airplanes. I don't feel I would be very trusting of this airline. So I believe, I'm trying to remember now, it's been a while since I cracked it, right? I've been just using it. Boy, these airplanes are not having a good time. I believe it is an 1 meg integrated S3 card of some variety on the board. It is not using a separate video card right now. It does have a Sound Blaster 16 in it, I think. Standard old one. Have a look. It's funny because I put it together. Oh, I didn't really put it together. It was like one that I got from work years ago, and they were like, "Oh, you want this?" I'm like, "Sure." Just tinker with. I've had it with me for forever, and it's funny because my cousins had exactly this 46 Vectra, so it was really cool for me to get it, but I never ended up using it. So I didn't really do much to it. That doesn't have much of like upgrades in it. It's pretty bog standard 4666 basically, and I kind of wanted to keep it that way because I have a lot of machines that I, you know, probably if you've seen any of the videos where I just jam in upgrades and do cool stuff with it, but sometimes I like keeping it stock or whatever. And I had planned originally to kind of beef up this 500 as well, like to go on that kind of tangent, but then looking at what accelerators cost for it, and having the Mister kind of fills that gap there too. It's not the same as running on actual things, but it made me hesitate to spend a lot of money on the actual hardware when it works just fine, so. It is a Vectra VE 4/66. Let me see if I can do this here. Move the camera, see if you can actually see it. If I'm gonna. There we go. So that is our computer we're running on right now. Hopefully able to cache that, but yeah, it's an XP Vectra 4666. Vectra VE. I'd have to check the actual back of it, so. Yeah, that's the thing. I looked at accelerators a lot, and I still would like to get some sort of accelerator, and still make it feel like an actual Amiga. Like, I don't want to just make it ridiculous, if you will. Yeah, it's VE. Victor Echo. And I looked at the Vampire, the Witcher, I think there's one accelerator, and a Terrible Fire as well. And I would like to get an accelerator at some point, probably one that just goes into Trapdoor. But then the Mister fills that gap, for me at least from a usability perspective for now, and it's cheaper, it keeps getting developed, so no, it's not exactly the same. You know, I do love having the floppy disk and everything, the floppy drive. I got a stack of floppies I still need to go through. But something to be said for the ease of use that the Mister is promising. You don't have to do much at all, just press a few buttons and bam, you have a functional Amiga, right? Let's put some more oil cars in here. We're making pretty good money here. Oops, no, you don't have any orders. Can't go anywhere yet. The OpenTTD open source version of the deluxe version of this game uses original MIDI music as well that people compose for it. It's a really well-made version of the game. If you have any remote interest in this game, I highly encourage checking out OTTD, or Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe. It's phenomenal. And you can run it on just about everything. It's available for tablets as well, but you probably need a mouse and keyboard for that game, so. We're gonna look at the finance of the other. Ooh, they're bleeding money here. Boy, they have a heavy loan, and we paid ours off already. That takes a few years, as you saw, to get profitable, but let me see if I can find the. Yeah, let's see. I'm pretty sure it is. How to do this here now? Open. If you just search for like HP Vectra 46 VL or VE, you'll find it pretty quickly. But So way I can link to a picture or something like that, but... There you go. I'll put a link here. This is not my art, or, you know, it is not my or anything, but that's, almost identical to what this is, so, or pretty much is. Mine is not quite as yellow as that one is yet, but I haven't done much to it besides cleaning it, honestly. I kind of want to keep it stock, because I have a lot of... Like, I feel like upgrading a 46 doesn't give me a lot, because I have so many Pentium machines, P1s. And I feel they filled that niche. I don't need a fast 46 as well, and I kind of wanted to keep this the 66 MHz. Like, I did a overdrive processor on my P1. That was more for nostalgic reasons, because I had that machine as a kid, and upgrading it was really cool to do. I did, like, a video series on that one. But the 46, I don't have a huge desire to upgrade it. Maybe more memory or something like that. I'm assuming that sooner or later I'll have to do a compact flash solution for the hard drive, and I feel that's perfectly fine. It has an actual regular spinning drive still. I don't remember if I replaced it or not. It's pretty funny, because I messed with it a ton a while back. And then I haven't touched it in a long time, besides just using it. And it's been working so well, I haven't had to mess with it, so... Alright, where are we building next? I feel like I want to get another train in, or maybe is that another subsidy? Raddingham Farm to Great Buffingfield Factory. Where is Great Buffingfield Factory? Right here? Oh wow, yeah, that's close. Oh yeah, we're muscling in here now. Don't mind me. Sooner or later you can't build too close, because they won't let you. But we're gonna try. Oops, I went 1. We're gonna do 3 so I can actually fit it here. Sorry, not sorry. Especially on easy difficulty, you're kind of, you know, building circles around them. Basically, they can't keep up, so because they build so inefficiently, and they get better and better with higher difficulty, no doubt. However, I don't feel the need to have high difficulty in this game. It kind of breaks a little bit of the purpose of this. It's supposed to be like a chill, just kind of building game, right? So why go bonkers and make it super difficult? I'm not a fan of hugely difficult games to begin with, but I want to have a fun time, especially in a mentioned chill game like this. We need a livestock van. We'll do 3, and we need a grain hopper. There we go. Alright, go do your thing. Yeah, that would be my guess too. Is probably that or something to that effect. It's not going to be anything exciting for sure. And I've thought about... I can't remember now. There's just... I'm pretty sure. Let me just check quick. So you have to actually look and see where the excuse me, drinking bubbly, making me bubbly. I had to check where the VGA cable went in and is going into the main board, so it definitely has not been upgraded. So you know, but yeah, you're probably right. The Cirrus Logic was using a ton of stuff, especially this kind of machine, which was designed as kind of the you know, multi-use home PC for the family, right? That's kind of the thing. And I know my cousins, or my aunt and uncle, they definitely had it for more bookkeeping and work purposes, but then my cousins played games on it, and I played a ton of stuff on that. And at the time, too, I only had a 33 megahertz, so that was like, oh, it's so fast, like twice as fast. And mine was just an SX 33, so that was just lightning fast compared to mine. Boy, that is a very long wooden bridge. Trains have to go very slow on those, so that's why I was a little aghast there. But yeah, it was like, it kind of why I kept it stock for now. So besides the fairly certain, I feel all bad here. So like, oh yeah, I'm playing on this. Holy cow! Look at this train network here. Playing on this really cool vintage machine. I don't know enough about it, but what I tend to do is I tend to inventory what's in the machine, especially when I custom build them, and I either print or tape something to the machine, just so I know when I pull it out. Not on like something like a Tandy or something, but you know, here's a random P3. I don't remember what video card's in it, what sound card's in it, and I have it printed on there and tape it to it. That way I can just look quick in my little storage area and grab it if I need it, so. Yeah, that's the thing. I certainly don't remember it having any problems. Like, it runs a lot of games really well. And it's kind of like a workhorse of a 486 in that sense. I know the 66 was kind of a turning point for almost a 46. I feel like it's a very popular processor and it's a very capable one. Kind of the big one before the Pentium came around. Of course, there were faster 46s, no doubt, but so as far as like all the components on it, it works really well. Like, there are very few things this machine within reason isn't handling from that era, which is really cool. And then I do have a E1 200 sitting next to it here too, which handles anything that I need for heavy lifting, and then I have a P3 733 also plugged in. So all those things, of course, combined, or 700, I think, handles a pretty broad spectrum of computer stuff. And if I run really old, I have a 386 I pull out and plug in too. Yeah, there's certainly with enough options. So I have 2 subsidies in progress there now. So let's see if we can build another industry here now. You just cannot get going and going. Farm. How's the oil doing? Oh, tons of oil. In fact, 399 tons of oil. Switch over to rail here at some point with this thing. I don't think that the... Oh, come on. There's a traffic jam. They do this sometimes. Great. The bug with the AI when too many of them are exiting at the same time. Horrific. Wow. Yeah, I believe it. You can cram in a much faster processor then. I had my 4633, I did end up upgrading to a 486 with an overdrive. 100, pretty sure that was a DX4 then. I made that thing fly, but then I had a P100 next to it too at the same time, and I used both of those to have friends over and play like Command & Conquer with null mode and cable, so... So, if you watch... There's a couple options on that. One is using an Extron 300 RGB to DVI. And this handles all the DOS resolutions, all that stuff. And these you can get fairly cheap on eBay. These were used in media equipment everywhere. So this is confirmed, but you have to tweak it a little more to get it to work nicely because the scaling isn't always best. What I'm using here is, I covered in the video, is a Sewell, S-E-W-E-L-L, Manta. You literally plug in the VGA and HDMI and you're done. It does everything for you. I haven't tweaked it or done anything. It's a tiny little box and it just converts and it takes almost any VGA resolution refresh rate up to 75 and just converts it. So that's what you're watching now. So this is outputting direct VGA from the DOS machine through a KVM switch into the Manta and it's capturing the HDMI. And then it outputs just 1080p from there. So I'm going to switch it over to 720p, I think. Remember where the switch is. So that's 720p 60 Hz. 1080p 60 Hz. So it does a really good job of just no fuss. It just converts it. And it's a tiny box, and it was really cheap too. Fortunately, it's out of production. But you can probably find it used now too, still. So Sewell Manta. But there's a huge, I think on Vogon's thread going for capturing DOS games, because it's always been a tricky part with their odd refresh rates and resolution, so. But DOSBox is so good now, too. That's the thing, too. I enjoy the factor of having the actual thing and installing and messing around with it and stuff like that, but just for pure usability, DOSBox is so good now. We have enough horsepower, we can emulate just about anything, right? Ooh. Making a lot of money here now. Like an endless game, basically. Awning field. I think we have any more subsidies. Oops, town directory. Yeah, and the floating point is where the pension really kicked ass, right? It was really strong in that. I remember getting my P100 was just such a difference. Yeah, that's the thing too. VJ didn't have quite established. Like, I think people are a little spoiled now with, here's my HDMI cable, plug it in, and it's gonna be supported. That's pretty much it. You know, digital. Almost everything is supported. There's no fuss, nothing. But that was not always the case. So, Active 386 I have uses the other VGA connector that is missing one pin. So I have a special VGA cable that I pulled a pin on and wrapped so I know which one it is, because I can't plug in a standard VGA cable in it. Because actually, if I remember right, and I'm sure I could be wrong on this, the VGA standard has an unused pin, basically. And there's one pin that's not used at all. There may be more than one. But some computers back in the day, for that, did not... Are they all jammed in here now? Back in the pile. We're gonna have to convert this to train. This is ridiculous. Yeah, we're gonna convert this to train. This is not working out. Sorry, boys. What we're gonna do now, we're going to build a train station here that's combined, which means that when I demolish the other one, it will remain with that one, so I don't lose all the production and stuff they have already. So now it's also a train station. But we're going to call all these vehicles back. After they deliver their goods, of course. When they come back here, they're all just jamming in. There's a problem, right? They're standing in line. And AI here for the launch version was not very good. It can only handle 2 vehicles at the same time, I think, so. Okay, go back. Go back. Go back. I know. We're all gonna sell you, sorry. Yeah, that sounds about right. There's a lot of pins that weren't used. Because, I mean, it's an analog signal. It doesn't need more than just the colors and a few control ones and power and whatever. Yeah, so there you go. Exactly. So I know for sure there was one then that was unused that, in that case, literally, the video card on it is not pinned out for that. So you're selling trucks here, basically just making your money on rhythm. So at least I get a little cash back here. Now we're gonna demolish all this here. Bye-bye. We got a nice, efficient train. And look, we can go diagonal now. Ah. The interesting thing about, yeah. You'd think so, but I'm sure not versed enough in all the different connection standards back in the day and all the stuff and reasons for what they did. And, you know, there were so many standards. Like, you look at all the different computers that were around that time, they all had their own video standards, especially, like, you know, Commodore, of course. Like, crazy. Well, they used the DB23 connector, whatever the heck that is, and everyone used their own different versions of the signals. It's like a Wild West for a while there. There we go. Now we're getting at some oil. So now we didn't lose all the oil waiting there. That's the kicker. We don't want the station to change, so. There. Which is a nice thing about the Mister again, because it outputs pure RGB signal, which, from what I understand, is about as clear as you can get by modding a system for digital to digital out, or a pure digital signal that is on through a DAC converted to RGB without anything in between. And it's as clean as you can get. And often on the consoles, for me, like for example, it will emulate like Neo Geo flawlessly. And I am not interested in buying a Neo Geo and everything needed for it, or get it all the way to the point where you could have a functioning setup with a good output and like equal in quality. And here it's basically for free. And if you look at the Mister project, again, open source, and they have a ton of cores, and new ones coming out all the time, and they're working really hard right now on arcade emulation. I know CPS1 is like your Capcom, so you have your Ghosts and Goblins and that genre of games all being worked on very hard right now to provide what they call closest cycle accurate emulation. So it's pretty cool. I mean, you've been able to do this all the time, but as an example, like I know speedrunners that play games really fast, and something I enjoy watching. For Super Metroid, if you play it on emulation, the game can be completed like a minute faster than actual hardware, because it's just faster and it's not slowing down as much as actual hardware did. Well, the Mister, with that, slows down the same. Like, I was watching someone play Game Boy, the original Game Boy, Super Mario Land, on the Mister, and it was real sluggish in parts. I'm like, man, it's not running great. I was like, it was that slow in those parts. In the beginning, when you're picking up some of the mushrooms and jumping around, it was that slow, and it's emulating that exactly through the hardware layer instead of on the software layer. So this is a really cool concept. Yeah, I used to. That's right. Yeah, because the Amiga uses the RGB. I mean, it has an RGB signal, but then getting that to a non-Amiga monitor or Commodore monitor, that's the crux, right? And they had, of course, the TV out. And when I was a kid, my neighbor, he just used a composite out. I mean, that's what you did back then. You were fine. We're spoiled now. We're used to sharp, nice, crisp pixels, and it's even bothering me a little bit how fuzzy the stream is, because it's very sharp on the CRT. But we're used to it. But back then, I mean, that's what you had. You played Nintendo, and you had a CRT, or more likely an RF signal. And I have the A510, or whatever that converter is for the Amiga, that outputs the RF and also the composite signal. So, yep, your the 15 kilohertz signal and all that, which is nice to have a PVM, which I got almost by accident, or a coworker was getting rid of it. And our video studio at work, we're getting rid of two, and he's like, hey, do you want one? I'm like, hell yeah. So that's where that got from. I feel real lucky, because I know a lot of people pay a lot for PVMs, and I would never hunt one down, I think, because I'm not going to spend that money, but if it's free, it's for me. Oh, you had a 1084? Yeah, my neighbor just had a, you know, like many people did, a standard black small TV, right? It was like a 10 or 11 inch regular tube TV sitting on his desk. That was what his Amiga was plugged into, and that's how I played all the games. We didn't know any better, so yeah, that's a good idea. I tried the EMU driver. Yeah, I have a computer. I made a dedicated Windows 7 machine because I felt like it at the time, with a Radeon card in it. I think my modern computer does not like having... It's got to be something with the PCI lanes on the motherboard or something, but when I tried that out, I had a heck of a time. So right now, I have a second just video card for getting the VGA signal to CRT, so I have a switcher on the other side here, so I can actually play on my CRT monitor with my main computer. But I was not able to have good luck with adding a Radeon card into that for CRT EMU driver, but it's a dedicated machine. I think where I stall out on that, it's one of those things, like, if you spend a lot of time up front getting it working good, and then have it working good, you're solid. I think I ran into some problems with RetroArch switching back and forth between a readable resolution or 480i, even on my PVM, and back to 240p. I don't know what it was, and then I just kind of sidelined it and forgot about it. But I've seen, at least in the few screenshots I've seen of CRT EMU drive running from a computer, it looks amazing. So, because again, you're getting as clean of a signal as you can, right? So, you want to do as few conversions as possible, which where I feel my disgrace against nature of having a HDMI component adapter on my RetroPie, and it works. You just got to use the right settings and filters to make it work, and then you do have to scale some cores, but Genesis looks flawless. It looks great on I have a JVC D-Series TV, a smaller one, 27, and a JVC iArt 32-inch TV, which is my main CRT TV. But it looks really good on that TV, and I played it on the PVM as well. It looks phenomenal, and that was a cheap solution. That converter was $18, but there are some drawbacks, like you have to scale some cores, like PS1 and SNES will not be integer scaled. I used a filter to make that look better, but it's not flawless. Versus like it's a GPIO pin-out solution to get you RGB output direct, I think. So, but that cost a little bit of money, and this was dirt cheap. So, yeah, when it does work, and I'll probably revisit that at some point, but I'm excited now to mess with the Mister, because it gives you, of course, you're not going to have the horsepower of an actual computer, which is where you have the benefit of running it on an actual PC, because you can emulate, I mean, follow ETA Prime on YouTube, and he does a lot of that stuff, but I know he's probably emulated just about everything on everything at this point. But I know he likes running RetroArch on, like, here, I bought this butted computer, and I'm playing RetroArch on it, and look, it can run Dreamcast flawlessly, and it's incredible what software emulation has gotten us. And that's the thing, this will never be powerful enough to run, like, something like a Dreamcast. It just has not enough logic circuits on it. Maybe future models of something like this, or an FPGA that's bigger, there's just not enough circuitry, not to mention how complex it is. Software, from what I read, is easier, quote-unquote, easier to get working with emulation than FPGA, because it has to be written in hardware description language down to nothing, you know, so. Yeah, exactly. Do you, what brand is that TV? Just curious. Because I feel like if you get a CRT with component, you can play just about everything on it, so it's just really cool. A lot of consoles, of course, can be modded for RGB out and component out and whatever, but between having those inputs, then you're set, and that's pretty much it. So that's my two main CRTs that I have, is a 32-inch iArt, which has all those inputs, and then a JVC D-Series that I found recently has all those inputs too, so. Yeah, exactly. And an interesting part, yeah, Sanyo, there you go. It's really cool. A lot of those, especially the later tubes, were all really good. Oh, wow. That's useful. 480p, of course, is great for GameCube and that generation too, which I guess Dreamcast... Did Dreamcast do 480p? Probably did. Yeah, it does. If you connect it to a CRT, right, with a VGA adapter, so... But we are a little spoiled on how many things we have, and it's interesting, I read about the Saturn may actually come to the Mister. It's in development, but it's still very early stages, and they're trying to hardware emulate the complex chips that are integrated into it. And I guess it's the same chip, the Saturn, and now someone can jump in, because I'm sure I'm just misquoting here now, but the 32X, Sega 32X chip is actually then an evolution into the Saturn. So some of the parts that are in there, so if you get Saturn or 32X working, you have part of the other one. Now, I think the 32X is not feasible on the Mister, because it has to basically emulate a Genesis and the 32X at the same time, because that's what it does, right? It overlays together. That's how the 32X works, with the plugins and all that junk. So that's not likely, but Saturn, apparently they're saying it is possible. It is promising, that because there are some things they never thought they could do, like the Neo Geo. And then apparently there's one guy who works really hard at these Mister cores. They took the chips on the Neo Geo and they ground down the top layer so they could see the circuitry, used a magnifying glass, a very good magnifying glass, and then traced it all out and wrote out the description language from that. Like, that's how hardcore they were. So because the Neo Geo, as I understand it, uses almost nothing but custom chips, which you can't buy. So they're failing, and the only way to fix them is to harvest other Neo Geos, and that's not maintainable, right? So they were mostly doing it to be able to reproduce the chips, but that also means they could write what I understand is a very good port of Neo Geo to the Mister, and it runs really well apparently. So I'm excited to check that out. So Yeah, I never tried the VGA adapter for Dreamcast either. I've only ever used... Watch this, the AI build here in real time. You're going there, buddy. I just use a cheap-ass video cable, which works for me. I never had a Dreamcast. I was not into it on any level, so for me, I don't have the nostalgia or wanting the best of the best, and I might look at mods for it in the future. Right now, just a stock Dreamcast, especially since the Dreamcast can read burn discs. I'm assuming my laser's going to fail sooner or later, so... There you go, that sounds about right, yeah. The challenge with 32X is the interaction it does with the Genesis itself, and it's just the fact that the Mister, you have a limited amount of logic circuits available, and if you use all of them up to run a Genesis, there's nothing left to run the 32X, right? Because you have to run them simultaneously. The ARM processor on the Mister is very weak, and I think they said it's equivalent to a Raspberry Pi Zero. That's about as powerful it is, because it runs just, you know, Samba Share, FTP, OSD, and just the control functions, you know, internet connection, things like that. It doesn't really have any horsepower to do. I think they do lean on it a little bit sometimes to do the emulation to hand off things, but all of it otherwise is done in the actual FPGA core, so... Yeah, there you go. It's funny because a lot of people get into a console after it was in the prime time. I did not own a GameCube when it came out, but I think, like many others, I also, when they were selling them out at fire sales, I just went and bought one, and then got into it after that. And then, you know, Metro Prime, this is amazing. Wind Waker, this is amazing. But I did not have it in the beginning. I got into it later when they started selling out stuff, and by then, used games were really cheap. The retro craze hadn't hit yet. Now, everything's expensive. So, yeah, sorry if you arrived late. I showed it earlier, so I showed it a couple times now. What this is the Mr. FPGA project. So if you just look for Mr. FPGA, an FPGA is actually a field programmable gate array. And again, there's better explanations out there for this, but as I understand it, if you imagine an integrated circuit or integrated chip, it is fixed. It's printed from the factory. You cannot change it. Yep, there you go. Exactly that. Mr. FPGA project. And you will need to run that. You will need the DE10 Nano board, which is the base component you need. You probably need a memory module. The DE Nano 10 board is like $140 plus shipping. You need a memory module, at least 32 meg, which is like $20. And then you need a USB hub. And at that point, you're basically up and running. An SD card. And you can emulate everything basically up to 16-bit at this point, like NES, SNES, Amiga, Atari ST, we mentioned that earlier, of course, Master System, NES, all that stuff, and a lot of computers as well. Like, I kind of mixed that in there. It runs, I'll take your word for it, yes, application-specific integrated circuit. That sounds about right. I'm not expert at this, it's just what I learned reading up on it. The idea with all this is that you get very close to real hardware emulation. Not software emulation like the Pi does it or RetroArch does, which is really good as well too. It's emulating the actual hardware, so then when the software runs on it, or the games, it doesn't even know it's not running in emulation, quote-unquote. It's the same ROM files, but it is much more accurate, which means lag is virtually zero. There's no translation of your inputs. It's direct into the board. Depending on the controller, of course. But if you use like a iBuffalo SNES controller, there's like 0.01 frames of lag or something like that. So it's much more responsive. Not saying the RetroPie isn't a fantastic solution, I use one myself, but the idea is that you can create something that's really going to mimic the actual hardware. So it gets really close to that, to the point where I see people like getting rid of their actual hardware because it runs consoles and old computers so well. So I will explore that at some point. I'm going to probably crack mine open tomorrow and mess with it, and then probably do like a short video on it. But I'll probably use that as a streaming platform, because I'm excited to check out the Atari ST library, things like that. And people in general rave about it. It's just really, really good. Like, you can run, like, think about it this way, FPGA is running a lot of the retro consoles you know, like the analog series of Mega ST or Mega SG. Things like that. The Analog Company, they all do FPGA. Yeah, there you go. I think that's a very common application. That's something I hope to do one day too with the Barcade. And if you're watching, you know who you are. I know you have a bar, and you need to get a Barcade too. It's a friend, if he's watching, he knows. but the optical disc drive emulators in all the consoles coming out now for like the Dreamcast and Saturn, they use FPGAs. Most of the accelerators that are coming out now for the Amiga are FPGA based. The idea being is that you can mimic any circuitry with this with a generic chip that then is reprogrammed. So it's not a processor in that sense that it's like doing one instruction at a time. You know, processors in general are serial. They process what they're given just really fast and in multiple cores and everything. The FPGA, as I understand it, can do all of it at the same time, and that's kind of the thing. It mimics an integrated circuit in itself, so. Well, now you're really selling it there. Are there any gems? I'm sure there's plenty of videos on it too, but is there anything I should check out first on Atari ST? Any gems or anything like that? May not have experienced, never touched one. Like, I literally have never had my hand or touched on Atari ST. I saw one. I got several computers from a guy selling something locally. He was like, I've tried everything and I got everything. I'm going to sell this and I'm going to go get further education or something. He was going to go become a doctor or something, I think. But he had an apartment, walked in there, and there was just like wall-to-wall nerdvana. It was like every computer you can imagine, but it was just like in the kitchen, on the dining room table. It was like hoarding gone wrong, if you will. But it wasn't hoarding piles. He had everything. So he had an Amiga 1200 there too. But he wanted quite a bit of money. Not unreasonable amount of money, but not more than I was willing to spend the time. At this point, I was kicking myself. He wanted like $150 for it, which today that's probably a steal for a well-equipped Amiga 1200, especially in the US. I did buy the Tandy from him dirt cheap. I bought a 286 from him, a Commodore 64, because I never had one, and I do have that now. The box is sitting back here somewhere. And like a stack of like big box PC games. So I felt that came out pretty well on there, and at that point I spent so much already, I just couldn't. I had to borrow money from my coworker like on the spot to buy more stuff from him, because like this opportunity's not coming around. But I would have to spend as much as I already spent almost just to get the 1200. You know, hindsight, obviously I would have bought it, but I try and find my limit sometime. There we go. Got a lot of things going on. We're just raking in cash. I think the other companies are not doing so well. Let's look at their... Yeah, they still, look at our finance sheet. We're doing really well here, so... I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be interested, for sure. There was an Amiga 2000, that came up locally here, and I kind of hemmed and hawed about it, and then someone else grabbed it by the time I decided on it. I think I sat on it for 2 days for going for it, but if you have any interest, definitely let me know to get rid of one. I just bought the Mister, so not so sure I'm going to spend anything more right now, but if you're looking to get rid of stuff, just let me know. You can hit me up on... I actually just created a Gmail address as well, and I don't want to be the YouTube plugin, whatever, but I did spin up a Twitter account, so you can always hit me up there. It's Rick's Random Retro, just so that I can post news and like when I'm going to stream and stuff. So feel free to follow me there if you want. I'm not gonna be trying to like, hey, click here, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. I'm just gonna try and do what I think is fun, and then if people want to follow it, then go for it. But I wanted some way to communicate directly, because YouTube doesn't let you post community messages until you have 1,000 subs. I'm not there yet. And if I need to change my day for streaming or something like that, I have no way to communicate with the people that may want to watch. All 7 of you that are watching right now, so... Which I appreciate. I really enjoy blathering on and talking old stuff, so... But boy, I talk a lot, don't I? Dude, I would really appreciate it. Just let me know. If you have 2000 you want to get rid of and you have spares, I would love it because I like the form factor of it and everything. So, and I have the 500 here, but it needs a little work. The 2000 would be really cool to have. If you were looking to get rid of one for shipping, I would absolutely love it. So, but just let me know. It's up to you. And also, shipping might be a little expensive because there's that part. That's always the kicker with these retro computers, especially now the internet age, where you're like, you can find stuff. Getting a 2 is another story, and yeah, right, it can get really crazy on shipping. And you hear the horror stories of, you know, oh, I should have said this PVM, and it was packed to the nth degree, and then FedEx decided to, you know, play rugby with it, and it was in 1,000 pieces. So, thanks, I appreciate the enjoyment there, but I guess that's the whole point, is I'm supposed to be talking a lot, and I realize that when I get going on these retro topics, yeah, I don't stop. My wife will be rolling her eyes so hard she'd be falling backwards by now, but he is the one that encouraged me to get the Mister. I will say that for an upcoming birthday here, so thank you, dear wife. So, and she likes the hobby too. She's not like, we don't have that kind of relationship where she's like, well, fine, just get that. No, she enjoys it too, so we play retro games together quite a bit. It gives me an outlet to just talk a lot, so. Oh wow, yeah, you don't say no to a stack of Amigas, because that's kind of a preservation effort at that point, you know. It's like, you can find, like, say you find an early XP machine, or a late P3, and it's not that unique. There are plenty of those around. It's not gonna, the world will not crash and burn, or they won't disappear out of existence because one less machine like that. But Amigas, yeah, there aren't that many of those around, so those, of course, I know there's plenty of different projects to bring Amigas back in different varying degrees. 18? So they came from, yeah, you're right, they came from business stuff. Was it a video production studio or something? You don't have to give too many details if you want, but they had that many. You got on one stack. And if it was a long time ago, too, I don't doubt they were going to throw them out, too, because, I mean, there was a long time there where stuff like that, you couldn't give them away. I think I saw someone on, like, a group, a Commodore group, was posting an advert from their local paper, like, you know, from the mid-90s or late 90s, and they were just like, holy cow, that's a lot of stuff. So they were like, you know, here's let me get 1,200 for, like, you know, next to nothing, because at that point, no one wanted them. There was a period of time where they were just old news. No one wanted them, so they were just giving them away. That's not that long ago, then. 7 years? That's, yeah, that's a lot of machines not long ago, but yeah, I guess they were, I haven't dug that deep into the toaster part. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's, still, at least those things went to a place where they'll be used, right? So, holy cow, that's a lot of machines, an entire production studio. That's the thing you see on Reddit and Facebook and all stuff, like, yep, ran into a store that, that was shutting down, so I got a stack of, you know, here's 18 PVMs and BDMs, and people are like, I hate you, I just spent 400 bucks for an 8-inch PVM shipped from, yeah. That's right, we're playing a game. If I remember right, the 2000, and clearly you're much more the expert here than I am on this, but the 2000 is basically like a box version of the 500 that they were, I mean, it basically runs the same innards, right? So, like, even accelerators are often designed for both of them. Just in a desktop form factor. As far as, like, if you're going to generalize. It's fascinating, the Commodore. I mean, there's been so many documentaries about it and how they came to be, and how they disappeared, and how they were mismanaged, and the CD32, and all that stuff. And it's fascinating, and hindsight is 20/20 always, right? So I think we're still making money on everything. But even raking in cash. I want to build another airport. Just because I can, I got a lot of cash. How about Prunington to Slontford? I gotta build that direction, okay. Man. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. There's... The sudden stuff is just awful. Fortunately, I think a lot of us experienced that at one point in life where someone loved just vanishes like that. It's just awful. That's right. So it was definitely more operatable for, you know, clearly wedge shape of the 500 wasn't exactly upgrader friendly for the business, so that makes a lot of sense there. I forgot to mention, airplanes can carry passengers and mail, by the way, so automatically. That's right, I remember that. I saw Retro Man Cave, I think, covered some of that stuff too with the 46 expansion cards. They did a lot of that stuff. So can we put an airport here? That's right, we need an airport in our capital, right? Or our headquarters town. So let's run some ad campaigns here to grow the city. So what you can do is fund local road construction, fund new buildings. It costs a lot of money, but expands the town. But it does cause some problems. I built a statue company owner. Yeah, it causes disruption if you fund the roads. But we'll do this. Do a large advertising campaign too. There, I spent a lot of money to help them fund the expansion of the city, basically. You see, they get sidewalks and bigger buildings and. Oh, nice. Yeah, I am so out of the loop on a lot of those other Amigas, because I mean, it was like the 500 was all I had exposure to. Then I watched more YouTube videos, read about them, and everything, and there's just so many. I do know the toaster stuff. I think Babylon 5 was the big claim to fame, right? Like all the effects there were made on Amigas or something like that. Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be really helpful, I bet, so. Yeah, if you want to hit me up on probably the easiest one, I guess, is Twitter, I think. DM me there. I don't know. You can email me as well. I do have an email address I just established for this, so. Just created an email address for the channel, so I have something. There you go. See someone follow me on Twitter. Thank you very much. And don't forget to like or smash that like button and hit the notification. No, sorry. Oh, okay. Nope, we don't want a prototype. But I do want to build an airport in here. The question is if that will connect to this. I don't know that it will. We will certainly try. Oh, they won't let me. Douches. Oh, nice. Can I build it here? Yeah, it's a different airport now. They're dropping off wood at the airport. Well, that's good. Never know when you need to fly some wood. Where's the other airport? That's right. I think we have a new aircraft now. No, never mind. Pretty old by now. Fly up here. There we go. Larfenberg, yeah, that's at Larfenberg Springs. There are parts of I got into retro computers, I would say later. Not so much when I was a kid, because I like, yeah, my friend had the A500. But didn't have much exposure to retro computers. I think my brother had a Commodore 128 that I was allowed to play on when I was real little. I remember like California Games, and maybe there's like a Daffy Duck, not Daffy Duck, Donald Duck building a playground. So a Larfenberg Springs, the fancy place. They have lumber. They have an airport. They have broken down buses. Yeah, I believe it. Those 1084s are not great to ship. It's just too much of a risk. CRTs, I applaud the people that do it successfully, But boy, that's risky. They're just, yeah. Just not gonna hold up, you know. I mean, I've seen people, like, ship PBMs, and they're able to, like, if they go nuts with packing, they can make it happen, but it's so expensive and everything, it's just, yeah. I don't know how even any CRT makes it, but then you see people like, oh, yeah, we're, you know, 20L5 from eBay for $1,500, and it arrived unscathed, and, like, that's, the odds of that happening are nothing. It's just not happening. That's true. Depends on how far it is, so that's the kicker, right? How far do you need willing to go for a monitor? See some people like, oh, I drove like 6 hours to pick up a, you know, a Trinitron or something. Like, holy cow! Yeah, that's really the kicker. What part of the U.S.? Because if you say Hawaii, I'm gonna smack you, but nothing wrong with Hawaii. Yeah, it's just the weight and also as many sensitive components in the CRT. Even I'm in fact in the Midwest too, so the fact that it gets rattled around so much. Yeah, that's the thing. 6 hours, and you see people like, I feel bad for some people that, like, if there's a drought of like computer equipment or monitors in their town or area, you know, you are not far away. Maybe we should talk. Yeah, I'm not far away at all. But the CRTs just don't handle shipping well. Like, you could pack everything as magically well as you want, but then at the end of the day, you're still subjected to them being handled poorly in shipping, because they don't, not that, I don't want to say it's not their fault, the shipper's fault, or the carrier's fault, but they probably are not used to having to be that delicate with something. And you can provide fragile all you want on there, but sooner or later, you watch this video of stuff getting just chucked and dropped, and it's, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's what it is. It's not like anyone is aware or specializes in CRT shipment or anything, so I've seen people build crates and they still not make it in one piece, you know? That's a simple thing. Like, you look at the big box games, like, buying them is always a gamble too, because you can ask a seller, hey, pack this in a box. It's actually sensitive, like, you know, you don't want the box to be crushed. And it comes in a bubble mailer, and it's just smushed. And you can try and get your money back and stuff like that, and sometimes I got lucky that it comes in a bubble mailer and it's still intact, but a lot of these boxes don't support that amount of crushing weight on them, so boy, it's getting late, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. They see the fragile as a challenge, almost. Oh, yeah? Or it means extra work for them and they don't want to deal with it, so... Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here pretty soon. I do enjoy these conversations. It's great. I really, I'm glad you guys are joining me to just ramble on and chat. It's really fun, actually. I'm probably, at the very least, going to be streaming every Thursday going forward. I'm going to try my best to do that, and if something changes, I will post probably an update on Twitter, basically. It's the way I'm going to communicate until I can post community messages. I need 200 more subs for that, so can't do that yet. You'd think that they will let you post notices or messages to your channel, but not yet, so... Footprint, that's just adding insult to injury, right? Good grief. Yeah, I got lucky sometimes. I got TIE Fighter Collector CD edition or whatever, and that was in a bubble mailer, and I was just like, oh, you're kidding me. I took pictures before opening it, and it was intact. I'm like, I don't know how I got so lucky. Most people seem to respond well, even if they throw it in an old Amazon box or something, and then put some bubble wrap inside. Often that's enough to make the box survive. It doesn't have to be, you know, clad in steel, but come on, don't just throw it in one of those, like, media mailers. That's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's getting a little late, so I'm probably going to wrap it up here soon. But yeah, thanks a lot for joining. As I said, I'm going to stream every Thursday. And I may stream a little more here and there. It may be more impromptu, I'm not sure. But Thursday for sure. It's just kind of rough with my current schedule. So I am planning on making more videos. I promise they are in progress. I will make the second one for the shuttle. It's in progress already. Hopefully posted at some point. And then other ones are in line too. You'll definitely see Mr. coverage coming up. I'm very excited about this. So, anyway, thanks so much for joining tonight. Hope to see you again soon. And I guess follow me on Twitter for updates about my channel. So, thanks a lot, guys. I will see you next Thursday if nothing else. Have a good night.